right, welcome everybody. Digital transformation for construction process improvement. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dave Cooper Live Show, where we showcase the people, the products, and the processes that are building it better. Today, we are welcoming back the one, the only Amy Marks, Queen of Prefab, to discuss how digital transformation is driving construction process improvement in her journey to help others deliver on the promise of prefab solutions. Today, it's about how AI and machine learning will help you design and make everything from buildings to products and beyond. But first, before we get through any of that, we got to thank our sponsors. So let's give a big shout out to them. Stream Modular, the only logistics company you need to transport your mods, pods, and panels. Our friends at Stream Modular are investing $50 million over the next 25 years to build the technology, solutions, and trailers needed to handle and transport the projects of today and meet the demands of tomorrow. Reach out to their team at streammodular.com to discuss your next project. CombiLift is the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, a leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. CombiLift helps companies of all sizes and from every industry maximize the capacity, safety, and efficiency of their warehouse and storage facilities. A big thank you to Paul Short and the team at CombiLift for helping us all to build it better. Visit them at combilift.com. Brave Control Solutions, where offsite manufacturing systems that do more than just improve productivity. They have a unique approach to industrialized construction, a lineup of flexible automation systems specifically designed for the construction industry, empowered by CAD to Fab, and turnkey solutions for 3D volumetric assembly, structural insulated panels, finished wall assemblies, MEP component processing, assembly, kitting, and storage. Learn more at thinkbrave.com. All right, welcome everybody. Today's going to be an amazing day. It's always an amazing day when we have Amy Marks on the show. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Please thank them, because I cannot bring all of these informative people on our show, to include Amy Marks, without the support of all of them. They are doing amazing things, and they are helping us grow this industry. So without further ado, let's bring on Amy Marks. Amy, how are you?
How are you doing, Dave?
And I am awesome. I'm not as awesome as you, but I'm doing pretty awesome. Where are you at today?
I'm in New Jersey at home. So it's a unlikely place for me, but I'm at home.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you are a jet setter, traveling around the world, speaking all the time, and always working on furthering the advancement of the space we love so much, offsite construction, industrialized construction, whatever we're going to call it today. Amy, for those that don't know you, and there's not many of them out there, why don't you take a few moments, tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what your background is, and then we're going to talk about some of the exciting news that you have and the jump. I mean, I don't know if anybody could guess maybe where you went based on the background there, but let's take a few moments and let everybody know who Amy Marks, the Queen of Prefab, is.
Sure. Well, my name is Amy Marks. And of course, there's some news about my new role at Symmetry. But prior to coming to Symmetry, I've owned several construction companies, including prefabrication, fabrication companies, and was the first prefabrication consultant, I would say, in around the world, opening up a lot of doors, whether that was through government or big customers, to really understand how things are made and how to optimize industrialized construction on large scale projects. So remember, I always say I'm still wet and dirty from the industry. And then, of course, I went over to Autodesk and had several roles over there as vice president of industrialized construction, and then vice president of their enterprise transformation practice. So yeah, I like to say that I'm a futurist, but like a near-term futurist, reality-based near-term futurist, as you know, Dave. I like to see a vision for what's possible, but like get some stuff done today.
Well, and that's it, right? Because you got to have both. You can't have the vision without actually making something happen to achieve those visions and getting to the next level. So before we
Absolutely.
hop into your new role, Executive Vice President Symmetry, if I'm saying that right, Symmetry, I want to talk a little bit about, what you're seeing as far as the future these days. Are there any hot topics that are really near and dear to your heart? And do any of these hot topics have anything to do with where you're going to and where you're at now?
Yes, I mean, I think, look, at the end of the day, I don't think you can go anywhere without anybody talking about generative AI or, how that's going to change the world we live in, machine learning and AI. But, I think a hot topic is people are recognizing that if they actually had their data organized and if they could share their data, that these are some of the cool outcomes that you could actually utilize and create a competitive advantage for your company. So I think I'm
Yeah.
really interested in what's going on in the world of generative AI, and also obviously sustainability is always at the forefront for me. I love to think about how we can actually create a better world with less in our landfills, and thinking about embodied carbon and operational carbon, reducing that. That's really important to me in our space.
Awesome. So we got a little video here that I found on Symmetry's website. You mind if I play it for a moment just to kind of
I
give
would
everybody the background? And if you know who their editor is, I'd love to talk to him. It's, you know,
I
uh,
would love for you to play it. That would be great.
let's do it.
Everything is part of a symbiotic mathematical structure. Even the things we can't see are a complex composition of information and codependent interrelations. To utilize it and develop, we need to observe, understand, and optimize, but also respect the planet to whom we owe it all. Construction and manufacturing have never been more efficient. However, there is still a few miles to a greener finish line. Businesses everywhere are exploring new ways to optimize and decarbonize their workflows. At Symmetry, we identify where our technologies can make a difference to your exact line of business. We want you to design smarter, produce smarter, grow smarter, and work smarter to build a better world. Technology is crucial. People are just as important. Symmetry's international network of experts collaborates across borders to ensure you have access to the competencies you need when you need it. Whether it's advisory services, software, support, or implementation of new technologies and work practices, Symmetry enables you to accelerate your digital transformation. Leave your mark on the world, but not your carbon footprint. Work smarter with Symmetry.
So I love it. So what is Symmetry? What do they do, Amy? And then of course there's a bigger organization that they're part of as well. They're a global company, and based on that video, I feel like you just met your virtual husband, wife, partner right there. I mean, because that seems like it's all right up your alley, if I can say
It,
those.
re- it really is. I mean, I think people were like, we just made the announcement last week. I don't know. I think the announcement had 40,000 views on LinkedIn at this point. But the AdNode Group is an amazing company as well. The parent company that is investing heavily into some amazing technologies. Symmetry over in Europe, most people in over there know that brand name immediately. It is, Autodesk's largest platinum partner, and other partners of other third-party software of the best that's out there. In the US, D3, and many people know D3 and also Microdesk. And so those two companies joined forces with Symmetry in the US, and that's actually the side of Symmetry US. So I think, although in the US, many people are just starting to really understand the brand name Symmetry and who they are, the history is really deep, really strong, and adding those partners into the mix. And I think it just, again, makes it is a perfect partnership for me, Dave, because I think the values of the company and what they're looking to do, and they're tremendous. They're platinum partner of Autodesk here in the U.S., and we're also a platinum sponsor of AU. I believe in what Autodesk is doing, and I love the digital glue, the products that Symmetry has invested in and developed on the Symmetry tech side that are actually making the workflows easier and more possible for people. So for me, it was like the perfect place to go. And it was like a match made in heaven, as you said.
Yeah, well, listen, I don't even need to talk to you to know that it was a match made in heaven. I'm excited for you. So your new role, I'm going to read this verbatim here so I get it right. Executive Vice President, you will lead and expand company's global strategy in supporting both customers and internal teams to articulate their collective business vision and goals, including digital transformation, sustainability, industrialized construction, and new and efficient ways of working. That's a heck of a title and a heck of a job responsibility list.
I think we have a lot of work to do. I feel like though that we have a great team, so it's possible, right? I would never embark on something that wasn't possible, right? So that that about me. And by the way, and I'm joining a team that's well on its way. So it's not like we're starting from scratch. So again, like the history here in both, globally as well as in the US, it's very strong. So I think again, I'm really excited about, helping people understand that yes, and by the way, opening it up. I've always said there's no one ring to rule them all. But, one of the great things about joining a company that has recognized that in understanding that, it's more than one product line and also has seen where some of the gaps are that they've filled by building their own proprietary technology or partnering. I mean, again, they're building things like Naviate, as you know, and they have a fantastic Naviate fabrication tool. They're doing things with like Allied BIM now and Naviate in their partnership so that they can get the full BIM to fabrication. We can have that life cycle all the way through. I mean, they did a worldwide partnership with One Click LCA. Yep. So when you're thinking about how to reduce carbon and tools that will help you calculate options for reducing the carbon footprint, I mean, these are all big partnerships, big companies. Look, they have some amazing stuff, even Arid in their database management, asset management that's using AI for asset management. They really have it right. So again, like, me, I really wanted to make sure wherever I went that you could come into one place. Not only could you buy these products from them, but they will also help you implement the products. They'll do training. They will also supplement your workforce. So if you are a small company and you need a BIM manager or you need a, some help on the, the information technology side, they have full teams of people that can actually do the work and not just talk about the work. And I think that's really important to me. I feel like for me, this is a way to serve customers, more customers, in a meaningful way. So I think that was really important for me.
Amy, I know some of the executive leadership at Symmetry over the years, and I think it's remarkable that they reached out to you and brought you on board to kind of lead and drive the change that I read underneath your title. It says a lot about a company. I know their work ethics. I know how hard that executive team does work through the years, and I'm talking like 20 years worth of knowledge here. And I think that's remarkable. So let's talk a little bit about the work they're doing, right? And we look at that video that they played. I mean, it was super cool. AI and machine learning. Let's talk about this a little bit, and let's talk about how it may help us design and build and make better buildings. Is that something that's going to be a focus of yours moving forward?
Absolutely. I think, look, even at Autodesk, you heard Andrew Anagnost talking about how for years they've been working on generative AI and getting that into the products. I think Symmetry has just moved again because they're able to create proprietary products and move a little bit faster in some ways. Some of the stuff that we're doing around the Naviate product, around working with One Click LCA, as I said, even BIMify, turning 2D drawings into 3-dimensional drawings quickly. All the stuff that, it's funny, when I went there and I started looking into some of these products, I'm like, I feel like in some ways, some of them are the best kept secret, but they're being used by some of the biggest companies in the world. So I think, the wonderful opportunity for me is that we can share all the amazing work that's been done where data has actually been organized in such a way and using some of the products that are, exploring and have been using generative AI are just there for any size company to use, right? And I like to say the first step to any of that is, you've got to get, a common data environment set up for your own company. You've got to organize your data so that you can share that data, collaborate on that data, and actually have the opportunity to have, your data being acted upon by like better technology and stuff. So you got to get yourself a little bit organized. Definitely, that's the first step I always say is common data environment solutions. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think it's everywhere, right? Like in some of these products that I've just mentioned and the partnerships, and you don't have to be a giant company to take advantage of it. I think you just have to reach out and talk about what's important to you so that you can find the right combination of products for yourself.
100%, right? And productization of, building products, data, collecting data, using data. It just is mind blowing to me how our industry is so far behind on actually doing what the rest of the business world does and the rest of the companies out there in regards to actually understanding and utilizing this data to help us all build a better environment.
I'm telling you, I sat through a really cool Allied BIM and Navigate with one of the electrical subcontractors that I know. And it's just, my mind was blown, honestly. Like, the ability to actually use the data in ways in which that are, creating less waste, they're better return on investment for these that in this case, the electrical subcontractor, but for all the guys that are fabbing, it's just astounding. I think if you don't think that there are solutions out there, all you have to do is check it out. And I think, again, I think the cost structure of it is really fantastic. So you don't have to be a giant company to take advantage of it. I think, you can get a lot for a little bit these days that'll move you worlds ahead. Like you don't have to be, like break the bank to make it happen.
Absolutely. So with your new role then at Symmetry, can people reach out to you to talk to you about what they're working on, and where they're going and how maybe you can help them with all the new tools you have?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, my email is always a good way to reach out to me, and I'm happy to give it out. amy.marks@symmetry.com. You can also DM me on LinkedIn. You can hit me up on any social media. You know me, I try to answer every single email I get. And I'm getting tons of them at this point, even from just the announcement. People are really responding to the fact that there is a company out there like Symmetry that can not only introduce them to these products, but help them navigate implementation, help them navigate training, help them navigate even just sustaining them within their companies. And I think that's the part I'm most excited about, right? It's this company really walks the walk. And I think, as you know, the leadership there, the culture of the company is outstanding. It's just a wonderful place for people to be. They just get things done. And they have a really customer centric focus, right? It is all about the customers. And I think that's really important.
It is. And so everybody knows this is not a paid advertisement by Symmetry or Amy Marks. I reached out to Amy when I found out you were you moved and said, we got to talk about this because I think it's that important that, everybody knows, one, where you're at. But I also think it's important to know that Symmetry is also a big partner of Autodesk. So it's not like you left one role and into another. I mean, there's a lot of symmetry. Is that the way I can say? There's a lot of symmetry between Symmetry and Autodesk, and how this ecosystem is going to move forward. So with that, your recent role that you just had, at Autodesk, is there, and you are the VP of Enterprise Transformational Practices at Autodesk. Is there any lessons learned you want to share with us that you had over your tenure in that role and how that may apply to your new role?
Yeah, I think, listen, at the end of the day, people want to get to a place where they're making money, that they feel like their company's more sustainable. I don't think there's anyone in the globe that doesn't want that. I think they just sometimes don't know the first steps to take in order to get there. And I think one of the great things of being able to have a global view at Autodesk and then taking it into a global view at Symmetry is that whether you're the biggest company in the world or one of the smallest company and that's out there in your space, you can gain a competitive advantage. Again, Symmetry is one of Autodesk's largest resellers. They also sell other products, other third-party products, here and across the globe. So I think it's a place that you can actually get to transform yourself, and again, it's not an advertisement. Me, Dave, I'm not going anywhere just to go anywhere. I want to go somewhere that makes a difference. I'm still doing the Advancing Prefabrication show in February. I'll be at AU the same. And again, this is because I truly believe, right? I wouldn't go anywhere that I didn't believe that we could solve wherever I went, that we could, really authentically solve people's problems. And from, when I looked across at, what my next phase in life is going to be like, I want to be able to serve all the way down to the smallest customer,
Right.
The same way I would give the attention to the largest customers. And I think that opportunity I have right now, regardless, there's a reason that change was necessary for me, right? To serve more customers, like I said, in a more meaningful way. So, and again, like, me, if we don't have something that you need, I will be the first one that recommends somebody else that you should go and talk to somebody else, or you can buy that here or there, or whatever you want to do. I think, that I'm authentic. I always say I don't sell software and I don't sell services. Like, that is not what I do for a living. I want people to feel like what they're doing in life is better because of their interaction with me. And so that's really important for me to also note, right?
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's really cool to put that out there, Amy, because you are right. I mean, all over the years of you and I talking and having you on the show, I mean, anytime I reached out to you, you're always willing to help us. You're always willing to refer some new people that we should talk to that you found that, think are doing awesome stuff. But I also want to note that, one of the things that I've learned from seeing you at all these different events is you are very approachable. Don't think that you're not big enough to talk to Amy Marks. Honestly, like, I mean, that may go back to your rugby days, right? It takes the team, and if we can get gritty and dirty and make something happen, that's kind of what's fun about it. But you're very approachable in that aspect.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends, like, funny enough, like, guys that reach out to me that are in the trades, and like I'll write them back all the time, because again, like, this change is not going to happen just from talking to CEOs. You know what I mean? Right. Like, the change has to happen where the domain expertise lies. And that's with the guys that are holding the tools. That's with the guys that are, drawing and drafting. That's with the guys that are in the field. And ladies, by the way, I only say guys as an aggregate, like with the men and women that are in those places. And so I've always talked to those people and changed my mind about things and learned about things. Sure. So like, I will tell you, anybody, it doesn't matter who you are, like, I want to talk to you because I think that's how we're going to evolve as a group. Like, we have to rise up all boats, right? Like, I think that's important for us. Sure. Look, I always say, Dave, 30 to 40% of what's in our landfills right now is construction waste.
That's right.
We have to change that, right? Assumption-based design is actually killing us on this planet. We have to change that. And we've got to get all the makers and all their data and all their information up into the front of that design process, and really push manufacturing-informed design, maker-informed design. It's super important. Like, and more than anything, that's what drives me, that we're creating great jobs for people, that we're creating a better planet for people, and that we can actually, do more with less on this planet. Right.
Yeah, 100%. What would you say is the biggest maybe mistakes companies are making to get to the next level right now? I mean, you see a lot of it, right, Amy? We see a lot of companies in England now that are going out of business, right, because the market's changing a little bit. From your overview look into the industry, what would you say is the biggest mistake people are making? And then what is the one thing, if anybody was to focus on going into 2024, what would it be?
Listen, I'm sure you saw Ilka just went out, and some other guys. Like, I'm a fan of housing, as you always know that I've always said that. I want people to live in wonderful houses. I've never been a fan of, putting all this emphasis and money into, the volumetric box, as you will, only, right? Like, not saying that you shouldn't, but, the majority of the prefabrication work that's being done right now around this planet is in the heavy MEP and heavy structure side. Like, MEP for sure, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and services is where the money is at, in as far as all of these buildings. It's where the complexity is at. It's where the manufacturing is actually influencing our space the most. And so, I mean, listen, I'm not a girl to say I told you so, right, Dave? But I feel like if you are in the space right now and you're thinking about how you can make the biggest impact, it's going to be on what you can actually do in the expensive parts of your building, right? How can you think about the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems? How can you standardize on some of those systems and some of the make information that's there, as well as the structure? I always kind of go MEP and structure. That's where the money's at, right? And I think in some ways they've gone to the sexiest thing, which is always the volumetric box. And again, like, I'm not against the volumetric box, but I think when you look across the city landscape and guys tell me, well, what prefabrication is being done there? And I'm like, look at every one of those buildings. They're doing heavy MEP in their fab shops. it's like it just keeps going. It's been going on like that for decades. And the fact that people aren't recognizing that at the government level, where they're, they might be instituting, things for those housing modular guys, but like in reality, the majority of the infrastructure that's being built, that's expensive, that's being fabricated, isn't from those groups, right? It's from, it's really from those guys that need to elevate the game into becoming manufacturers, right? I mean,
Right.
I was talking to a guy recently who's very big into fabrication, and just this week when he heard I went to Symmetry, and he said, "What?" I said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And he was like, "We want to be a manufacturing construction company." And I was like, okay, now these guys are working on the pipe side. So it's like, I just started hearing people saying that more and more and more now. And it's like, we've got to put our emphasis on the parts that are going to make the biggest difference for us. And I think, and to those companies that now that, the spotlight's on you, you've got to make sure that your BIM to fabrication process is, you got it down pat, like you've got to make sure that you can get across those workflows and that you're doing that and you're able to understand your impact on sustainability for these larger customers and what their needs are going to be. So I think, it's more important than ever to think about like what data you have and how to organize it and how to actually share it, but understand what it is that you're making so that you can have some economies of scale. But I think, look, it was only a matter of time before that was going to happen.
Right.
And I hate, by the way, I hate to be right about it, right? Like, I don't even want to be right about it. My friends that are over in the UK, I hate to be right about it. I wish we should be putting money in through the government of these manufacturing processes and distribute this much further across the guys that are actually making things and the manufacturers that are actually making building components that can actually extend into larger assemblies. I think that's super important. Look, right now we have companies, how important sustainability is, and how many companies can actually make their documentation for their environmental documentation, their EPDs properly. Like, one of the things that attracted me here is that that's one of the things we're doing. We're like making people's documentation for their EPDs. Like, I think you've got to really think about what your company wants to be when it grows up. And also, if you're in the government, you have to think about where you're going to have the biggest impact, or the biggest owners, where you're going to have the biggest impact on your projects, right? That's super important. Just because it's sexy doesn't mean that it's gonna have the biggest impact, right? Just because it looks good on the front page of something doesn't. Again, I'm a prop, right? I'm a tight head prop in the front row. I wasn't the prettiest girl on the team. I wasn't fixing my hair like the
We're back
backs
on
did.
rugby for those of you who don't know what that means, by the way.
It's Rugby World Cup right now. I was in the front row of the scrum and I was slugging it out like a blue collar worker, right? Like, I was like every day doing my job. I feel like we have to keep focusing now on where the biggest impact can happen. And that is going to be on, do you have the right process in place, to actually design things? Do you have the right process in place, to go to 3D? Do you have the right process in place in order to get that information to fabrication? And can you get that into digital twins? I mean, like, if you can't answer those basic questions, and do you have a common data environment to support all that? I don't care what it is you're getting up on stage to talk about. You're just not going to get that far, right? So just start with one thing. If you had to start with one thing, think about how a common data environment is going to help you in your BIM to fabrication, move in the future.
Right. Amy, what are you looking forward to in the future? What do you hope to achieve next?
I mean, look, I just love, me. I'm tireless in the sense that, like, anytime I hear about one small company, one large company that's made a change, that's made it better for this planet, their workforce, by using the combination of people and technology, right? Like, I think that's really important. That's what really attracts me to things. I want to see us doing more with less, as I'm worried about the domain expertise that's being lost with the great, people that are retiring. I really want to see us attract digital natives to our space. I want to do that by offering them great ways to work with technology. I'd love to see, models being trained. But in order to have models being trained, you have to have the right data, right? Like, we've got to be able to get our data in order here, or else we can't achieve all these amazing things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to change as usual. Like, I'm looking forward to nothing staying the same. How's that? Like, I want us to, like, get to a place where we're comfortable with being a little bit uncomfortable, right?
That's right. Hey, listen, even lobsters outgrow their shells, right? I mean, that's part of it. Like, you always have to change. So with that said, and having the right data, having the right models, how do you see this moving forward? And this will probably be our last question, right? That's the hard part, right? We have AI coming on, fast and strong, and it's happening big in other industries. We have an aging workforce, and not all the data we need walking out the door and retiring. How do you see this actually coming together? What do we all have to be doing to pull this together? I guess is maybe the bigger question.
Yeah, first, I think you need to take stock and organize yourself, right? I think you need to understand like what data do you generate, what data do you consume, what data do you disseminate, and you've got to really again consider that. I think the other thing I always want people to think about is how can you reuse that data? How can you never have to draw something ever again? How can you define the parameters of some data so that you can reuse it, but it can be adjusted, right? You just got to take some stock, and you've got to start. Obviously, you've got to digitize some things. That's number one. You got to. I hesitate to say get off paper,
Right.
even if it's not physical paper. You've got to get off the disconnected tools is a better way to say it. Because again, you've got to standardize on some information. People always say like, well, I want to build a library of components. And I go, okay, is the library more like my kid's second grade library? Or are we talking about the Library of Congress here? Like, what are we talking about? What kind of information management and capabilities are you going to need at your company today and then in the future, right? Like start thinking like that. Like what are you actually trying to accomplish and at what level of data management? I would love to say we're all going to get to this place where our organizations think for themselves, and that will happen, but it won't happen until you start standardizing things, till you can start having some analytics, till you can start being predictive about that information. And then, yes, some of those systems will be able to think for themselves, but you're not going to jump from like not being organized to having systems think for themselves. Like that, if I can give you any advice, start out with just organizing and standardizing on your data.
When are we going to have you back on to talk about the inner workings of Symmetry, Amy? Like how much time do you need before I can drag you back on and learn about all the really cool stuff you guys are working on globally?
I know I'm going to be at NECA actually coming up. And so like, I will tell you that probably the next time I'd love to bring Brian Nichols and some of the guys that we have here at Symmetry to talk about the Allied BIM Naviate, because I think it is actually the best BIM to fabrication tool that I've seen. And it's one that is relatively, I don't want to say unheard of because people are using it, but I think it's not getting its due. You know what I mean? Right. And I think it's not getting its due, and it's actually in a price point that people can truly afford. And I think that's really important as well for me to make sure that. So probably the next time will be in a few weeks. Like call me and we'll get together with some guys after NECA, and maybe we'll bring some electricians on and some pipe fitters, and I'm happy to do it.
And we'll do it in an affordable way. We're going to teach you how to do it affordably. That's what I love.
Isn't that important? I mean, isn't that important? Like not everybody can afford, like I think that's very important.
When we talk in my soapbox, right? Even in the residential space, right? One of the biggest problems with digital twins, 5-10 years ago was affordability. Like it was expensive, but now all of this is becoming more affordable. It's really becoming the norm. And I think that's where people really need to start embracing it, regardless of the size that you are, whether you're residential, commercial, MEP, just starting out, trying to grow. Now's the time to start.
It's so important. I mean, like at the end of the day, look, if you need transportation, do you need roller skates and a bicycle and a car? Or are you talking about like a spaceship at this point? Like, what do you really need? Let's like start understanding what your actual today needs are so that you can start making more money so you can grow your company and grow your business. That's important.
It is important. And if you still like to take the stairs to keep in shape, you can do that too.
You can.
Or ride your bicycle. All right, Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. Guess where I'm going, Amy?
Where?
I'm going to Indianapolis to the BCMC show. So if anybody's going to be there watching this and you want to catch up, I will be at the BCMC show in Indianapolis all week, coming home either Thursday night or Friday, something like that. And then the following week, I'm at IWBCC in Washington, D.C. Have you been to that show before, the Industrialized Wood-Based Construction Conference?
I have not been there, but I've heard about it.
In Greenville, another really awesome place. So lots of stuff happening. So stay tuned Wednesday. I'll be bringing some updates live from BCMC. Who knows what guests will join me when I'm there? I just grab somebody randomly, pull them in. And guess who else I get to meet?
Who?
I get to do a personal meet and greet with O'Neill, the guy who shot bin Laden. Keynote speaker.
Wow, okay.
And I get to come in and hang out, shake his hand, and I'm going to get him to sign some of my World Trade Center stuff. So, which would be really cool.
By the way, I know it was just September 11th, so I'm really proud that I know you, Dave, and the amazing things that you did on September 11th. So I thank you and any of the other responders at September 11th. I know it just passed and wanted to give you a thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. And as I always say, it was my pleasure. I wouldn't change it. I would change what happened, but I wouldn't change being able to go and help for the world. So with that said, Amy Marks, thank you for joining us today. The rest of you out there, here's a few more sponsors. Pay attention to who they are. They're doing amazing things. Amy, I'll come back to you right after the outro. Bye now. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.